Often about this time of year, people look back at the past year and they wonder, or they look back and they sort of check over what's been going on, what has all happened. So I thought we'd do that this morning for Mary and Joseph. What had their last year been like before the story that Scott read? We don't know how long Mary and Joseph had been engaged, but possibly sometime in the past year they got engaged. Which in their day and age probably meant that Joseph's dad went to talk to Mary's dad and they made an arrangement. And after that was done, they were engaged. And maybe like Joseph's dad went home to tell his son, oh, by the way, you're engaged. Right? Which would sure be a lot simpler. Right? Joseph didn't have to like wait by the phone and see, or Mary didn't have to wait by the phone to see if Joseph was going to call. They didn't text each other. They didn't, have to worry about going on dates. They just, Anyway, so they were engaged. And then, and then an angel sort of happened to Mary, right? And an angel came to her and said, oh, by the way, you're going to give birth before you get married and before you have sex and all that sort of stuff. And wow, that's going to turn her world upside down. And she's so freaked out by this that she goes running off to her Aunt Elizabeth, who lives out in the Judean hill country. This may be the first time in Mary's life that she's been more than a couple of miles from her house. Might be like her big trip for her life till this point. And all of this stuff happens with Elizabeth and the future mother of John the Baptist, and they probably have a great time together. She hangs out there for a few months. And then she goes home and faces the reality of life being an unwed pregnant woman in Nazareth. And we don't know a lot about how common that was or how people dealt with it, but presumably people dealt with it. And then Joseph said to her, oh, by the way, the Romans have this decree, and we have to go to Bethlehem, because that's my ancestral home. So off they go, right? Mary's waddling her way to Bethlehem, and in case you're wondering, it's about 100 miles. So it's a good little trek. It's not 100 miles as a crow flies, but right, if you're winding your way through the Judean hills, it's 100 miles. So they get there, and she gives birth in a stable, whatever that means in that day and age. And some shepherds show up, and, that was sort of, not your typical kind of birth scene. I'm guessing most of you, when you had children, didn't have shepherds showing up, or glorifying and praising God. And then, now they're on their way home. And since, the law says you should dedicate your child, it's the firstborn, and, all of these sacrifice sort of things, and they're going right past Jerusalem anyway, so they might as well stop at the temple. And by this point, they're totally broke. They are just completely tapped out. And we know that because the law says that what they're supposed to do at this point, ceremonially, is they're supposed to sacrifice either, a sheep or a goat or something like that, unless you can't afford that, in which case you sacrifice some birds. Now this is like the biggest event of their lives so far for the both of them. They have their firstborn son, whom the angel has told them is going to be the Son of God. So this is like the biggest celebration they may ever have in their entire lives, and they can't even afford a sheep. Now you know, right, that the ancient world is not a lot different than the modern world in the sense that the closer you get to the big place, the higher the prices go. Right? The closer you get to your big vacation destination, the higher the prices get. So no doubt the price of a sheep in Jerusalem is top dollar. Right? But still, people are paying this because this is Jerusalem and you're there to sacrifice this thing to God, and you can't. All you can afford is a couple of birds. Which are probably still more than they can afford, but you got to do that at least. And after that, they've got this long journey home, because Jerusalem's just the first step, really, in a long, long walk home. So I'm guessing that Mary and Joseph are really, really looking forward to the coming year. And I'm thinking they're really, really hoping it's going to be boring. Because after this last year, right, I mean, they're really looking forward to some serious non-excitement. But they just want sort of a plain, ordinary year. Yeah, and they have a baby, which tends to turn your world upside down, but they're living right, like with her parents or his parents or someone like that. They're surrounded by aunts and uncles. A baby doesn't disrupt life much in a village setting. So I think that they're looking forward to, thankful, no doubt, for what God has done for them. But probably looking forward to, and so when Luke talks about this, right, he does the next 12 years in one verse. Right, the child grew and became strong, filled with wisdom, favor of God was upon him. 12 years. Right, uneventful. And no doubt Mary and Joseph are saying, hallelujah, uneventful. Part of the reason I tell this story is because that's sort of how I feel this morning. That a year ago, we were in Waldheim, Saskatchewan. We had just come back from a couple of years in Ghana, so we were freezing. And we were over jet lag mostly, but in the middle of culture shock. And so we had a sense of where we were. There was a day, actually, in the first couple of weeks home, when I couldn't utter an English sentence. That's the kind of culture shock we were in. That people would ask me a question, and I'd go, I did. And there were words in my head, but right, that's the kind of shape we were in. And we knew where we were going to be living, probably, but all of our stuff was actually still in the garage. And the house was going to be for sale, so like, in what sense are we moving back home? And we were employed for the coming 2 months at the princely sum of $500 a month jointly. And in 2 months we were going to be unemployed and without health insurance. And we had no idea where we were going to be or what we were going to be doing or what we were going to be doing for money or things like that. And in fact, this last week as we were gathering with our children and their partners, there were the 6 of us there, and a year ago, none of the 6 of us were living where we are currently living, and none of the 6 of us had the jobs that we currently have. So we sort of, as an extended family, have been doing some pretty serious transition. And so here we are. And I can't speak for Deb, but I'm really looking forward to a much less eventful coming year. But mostly, I want to say this morning how thankful I am. Deb can speak for herself. I am so thankful to God, but also to you. Here we are. And this is a great place to be. Yes, we're not in Kansas anymore. But most days... Careful. I know we're in almost heaven, West Virginia. But, right? You offered me a job, and you give me money every month, you gave me a place to stay, and you welcomed us with open arms. So yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And we really, really, really hope that in a year we're going to be doing exactly this again. That a really nice, uneventful year would be, at least no traumatic events. It would be really good. Thank you. But there's another one coming. Right? And it's going to be an interesting one. We're guaranteed that. Right? Ancient Chinese curse. May you live in interesting times. Right? It's going to be interesting. So, I think the best we can do this morning is to offer this one to God. Because whatever is going to be happening, God is going to be there. And we're going to work really, really hard at being there for each other. And we're going to work really, really hard at being there for our community. We're going to work hard at expanding our community because there are people out there who need what it is we have. Right? But we're going to hang on to each other, and we're going to hang on to God. Wow, it's going to be an interesting one. So, I invite you this morning to turn in your hymnals. And to sing contemplation. Right, in the bulb there is a flower. That there is something happening in this world. And hopefully what is coming is a flower. I know that some seeds also give weeds. But we're looking for the flowers.